You know, it's late October here in the Pacific Northwest, and I can tell just by going outside that winter is just around the corner. And if you own a Mercedes diesel, particularly an older diesel, there are some things you need to think about doing before the real winter sets in. So in this video, I want to just take you through a series of things that you could do yourself in preparation for those cold months ahead. In fact, I've decided, since it is almost winter, I'm going to do a whole series on preparing your older Mercedes diesel for winter driving. Now, in this video, I want to talk tune-up. I mean, you can do a lot of other things, but if your engine isn't tuned properly, well, you're probably wasting your time. The first thing you need to think about is, have you adjusted the valves recently? Now, this only applies to those older 6.1X diesel engines with the cast iron blocks produced up to 1985. If you have a 201 chassis 190D or one of the newer 126, 124 diesels, you don't have to worry about adjusting the valves because those are automatic hydraulic adjusting valve assemblies in those engines. We produce a set of valve adjusting wrenches right here in our shop, and along with our complete instructions, you can adjust the valves yourself. And this should be done every 12,000 miles. A lot of people neglect this. And when you neglect a valve adjustment, those valve clearances can tighten up, and when it gets really cold out and metal starts to contract, you can actually lose compression in your engine. So when you get up on those really cold mornings and start cranking, you may have weak compression and that engine may not start. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you've recently adjusted your valves. One of the unique things about our new wrenches here is we are now putting a heavy rubberized coating on the handles, which make these really easy to work with, particularly when you get your hands very oily. And be aware, if you haven't done this, you will be getting your hands very oily when you do a valve adjustment. The other thing you want to think about is your thermostat. This is another thing that I see neglected. And people think these thermostats last forever, and they don't. And one of the first signs that your thermostat is going bad is it'll take 10 to 15 minutes for the engine to get up to operating temperature. Now, there's two things bad about this when you're looking at winter driving. Number one, it's going to take a long time for the car to heat up. And that's not very comfortable when it's 20 degrees out. That engine, that diesel engine, when you start it up, within 4 to 5 minutes, it should be right up to full operating temperature. If it's lagging and taking a long time, it means probably that this thermostat has worn out and it needs to be replaced. This is an easy DIY job, and with our thermostats, we include complete instructions on how to do this yourself. It's not a difficult job. And then the other thing is filters. You know, if you approach winter driving with old, plugged up filters, you're going to have problems. And it has a lot to do with the cycle to start the engine as well as the thickness of the fuel when the temperature gets cold. So if you haven't changed your fuel filters in the last, 12 months, then do it now. Our spin-on filters that come on most diesels, we have instructions. The early type that you take the canister out and put the inserts in, we also have instructions for those as well. And I want to talk a little bit about these pre-filters here. The pre-filters we sell have brass reinforced necks, so when you tighten them down with a hose clamp, they won't collapse like some of the cheaper pre-filters. But let's say you're tired of changing these pre-filters and you want something that can be a little more permanent. Now, we offer that on our website, and we call it the Combu Metal Cleanable Pre-Filter. What's unique about this pre-filter is you can spin the base off, and inside it has a cleanable metal filter screen. Now, there is a disadvantage to this filter. One, you cannot see in it to see how dirty it is. And, of course, with the plastic filter, you can look through this and you can see just how contaminated the fuel is. But if you're looking for a solution to less frequent pre-filter replacements, you might want to consider this, particularly if you're running homemade biodiesel or SVO, vegetable oil fuel. This is something you might want to really consider. So think tune-up first. And then in the next few videos, I'm going to go over some other things that you can do with your engine to help it start better and perform better in cold months ahead.